When the temperatures drop and the snow begins to pile, I reach for a Goretex trail shoe. A trail shoe gives better traction on messy winter roads, and the Goretex keeps me drier longer, which is critical for those winter temps where the last thing you want to be is wet. This is a Pegasus Trail 4 Goretex, and it may be my perfect winter running shoe. Yo, what's going on everybody? My name is Kofuzi, and today I want to talk to you guys about the Pegasus 4 Trail Goretex and why it may be the perfect winter running shoe for me. But before I do that, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that I bought myself, so no one sent them to me or is paying me to make this review, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the Peg Trail 4 Goretex. First, let's go over some specs on this shoe. Now, Nike doesn't really give a lot of information. I don't have any contacts over at Nike, so the information I have is a bit sparse. But I will be able to tell you that this is a midsole that is made out of React foam, and it is a fantastic iteration of React foam. React foam can mean kind of a lot of things. Sometimes it's firmer, sometimes it's softer, sometimes it's thicker or thinner, and that all changes how it feels. What they've done to the Peg Trail 4 Goretex is absolutely amazing. It is React at its finest, and that has consistently been the case with the Peg Trail series. The React midsole foam here is the story, and it's doing such a great job. There's nothing else, as far as I know, that's inside this foam to make it feel so great. On the outsole, we have a somewhat beefier set of lugs, at least compared to either the Pegasus or the Pegasus Shield. So they're deeper lugs, they're oriented slightly differently than what you might see in the regular road version of the shoe or the Shield or weatherized version of this shoe. And they've been messing around with the rubber compound that's on here to make it a little bit grippier and tackier for some of those slippery surfaces. Up top, we have that Goretex upper, which I think is really important for that winter running, because sometimes there's snow, sometimes there's slush, there might be some kind of icy water that gets on the foot, depending on the surfaces that you're running in, on, or through. And the last thing you want is for that liquid to get inside your shoe and make your feet wet, because wetness in the winter is what's going to end your run, not necessarily cold temps in and of that self. And in terms of protection up front, there isn't really a substantial toe cap. There's a little bit of extra coverage as the rubber curls up over the front of the toes, and there's a couple of overlays up top also to kind of help keep everything protected. But it's a pretty nimble and lightweight shoe. The lacing system is pretty straightforward and fits really nicely, and then it ends in this kind of like faux gaiter that comes up a little bit higher on the back of the heel to help kind of keep all the elements out. There's a nice little pull tab at the back and on the tongue, so you could slip the shoe on really nice and easy. And overall, I think the design looks fantastic. Normally, I reach for the all black when it comes to the Peg Trail series, but this year, this one was on sale when I bought it right around the holidays time. And so I felt like for the big price discount, I'm willing to try a slightly different type of color than what I would normally pick. The other thing to note is that this shoe does not have a rock plate or any kind of carbon in it. So if there are some very big rocks or sharp edges that you're stepping on, you are going to kind of feel that through the bottom of the shoe. I don't have an official weight from Nike, and I didn't remember to weigh the shoe before I started running in it. So it's not the most scientific of measurements, but after several runs, and it's dirty and it's picked up debris here and there, measuring it now, my men's size 9 in the US comes in at 9.7 ounces or 276 grams. All right, with some of those specs out of the way, let's talk about what it was like to actually run in the shoe. This shoe has a very surprising amount of step-in comfort. I really had to double, triple, and quadruple check to make sure that this midsole foam doesn't have a ZoomX insert inside it, because the step-in comfort is really nice. I was extremely surprised by how nice it felt to put my foot in the shoe and how soft it felt just kind of standing around like inside the house in the shoe. And that comfort extended into the run as well. I took it out on some extremely cold runs, some of the coldest runs that I've ever gone on. I think before this year, the coldest run that I'd ever gone on was like -4 degrees Fahrenheit. And this holiday season, it was even colder while I was over at my in-laws. We were in the double-digit negative Fahrenheit territory, and wind chills made it extremely cold, but yet still this React foam did very well and still felt very soft. It probably is the best Pegasus that I've run in a very, very long time, and I was super thrilled at the way that this shoe feels underfoot. It absorbs impact from the road really nicely. It feels nice and springy. I felt like the shoe was much lighter on foot than the weight on the scale would indicate, so it felt like a really nimble shoe that I really enjoyed running in, whether it was just running on a snowy dirt road, on a snowy road, or in actual trails, whether they were snow covered or not. So every situation that I took it in, I absolutely enjoyed it. I'm not going to say that the Goretex covering was able to block all the wind. That's a different technology that Goretex uses in some of its products. So on those coldest of days, my feet were definitely cold, but when it's -14 degrees Fahrenheit, everything's going to be a little bit cold. So I don't think that's necessarily a problem for this shoe. I did get it definitely covered in snow on some of those snowier trail runs that I went on. And I felt like from kind of like here on the shoe forward, definitely felt nice and warm and dry and toasty, even in those snowy runs. And even for the back half of the shoe, for the most part, I felt fine, except for like this faux gaiter. It's just a faux gaiter. And so when snow comes over it, it still gets inside the shoe when you've got like a bunch of dry powder. And so after I went through all that trail run, running from the park where I ran back to my in-laws' house, I started feeling like there was something on the inside of my ankle. And by the time I got home, I realized what had happened was a tiny little like snowball nugget had developed in this space in between like my Achilles and the faux gaiter. So that was something that, you know, if this was a much longer run, I would have stopped to kind of just flick it out and I would have been fine, but some debris will get in there. Some water, I suppose, could get in there if you completely submerge your foot. But for the most part, for all the conditions that I was able to take this in, below 0 Fahrenheit temperatures, the shoe held up really well. Now, the following week after I left my in-laws' house, I still had some snow on the trails back here in Crystal Lake, but everything had started to kind of melt and thaw because we went from like below 0 Fahrenheit to above freezing Fahrenheit. And so when things were muddy and kind of wet and slippery, the shoe still did a really fantastic job. Felt like I had plenty of grip, at least for the kinds of trails that I'm going to be running on and that I have immediately available to me. And so I felt like the shoe was really versatile and can handle everything from the kind of beginning and end parts of the winter to the hardcore, coldest, most freezing, snowy parts of the winter as well. And I just had an absolutely great time running in this shoe. It's so good, in fact, that it makes me wonder, why can't the regular Pegasus be this good? The React foam that's in this Pegasus shoe feels really stiff. It just never really seems to loosen up. And overall, the fit of the shoe isn't as good either. For the past couple of years, I've been underwhelmed and disappointed by what the Pegasus has been delivering. And as disappointed I am in that shoe, I'm absolutely loving what they're doing with the Peg Trail. So it makes me think, why can't they just take this exact midsole from this shoe and put it into this shoe? I think it would be a drastic improvement. And this is a frustration that I've seen across a bunch of different Nike shoes that use React. Sometimes React is really good, like in the Peg Trail series, like in the Epic React series, like in the Terra Kiger. The React there in those shoes is really fantastic. In other shoes, the React foam is really undesirable, like in the Peg 39, like in the Zoom Fly series when they started using React foam after version 2. Version 2's React foam was really nice. 3 and beyond, not so good. Something happened to the React foam in those shoes that make it just really not good, not something that I wanted to run in. I want the Peg Trail React to go into the next Pegasus React. Or as long as we're taking requests, not that they're taking requests, what I would love to see is a Peg 40 for next year that looks a lot like the Vomero 16. Last year, the Vomero 16, I called my favorite Pegasus in recent memory because it has a carrier that's probably Cushlon, the SRO2 midsole foam. That's some sort of EVA blend, along with a ZoomX insert inside towards the heel, and then the Zoom Air pocket up front. I thought those three things together made for a fantastic shoe, a highly underrated shoe, and I would love to see that kind of setup put into a Pegasus package. Just make it anything but what they've been making, and it would make it really fun to run in, just like it's super fun to run in the Peg Trail 4 Goretex. Now it's time for the summary portion of my review video, and I've been really enjoying the Peg Trail 4 Goretex, and I think it's best for all around winter road running and light trail. And by light trail, I mean like normal trails, the kind of trails that most people probably have readily available to them, whether it's wintry conditions or dry conditions. I think the Peg Trail 4 Goretex is going to be a fantastic choice. If you have really jagged rocks, if you have stuff where you might have to put your hands down every once in a while to get through the terrain, this might not be trail enough of a shoe for you. But for most of us out there that are running mostly on the roads and getting onto the trails every once in a while, this is going to be all the trail shoe that you need. And even if you need to run some roads on it, I think it has some pretty good road manners too. Now, in terms of shoes that this is comparable to, or other shoes that you should consider in the same category, I think that there's two that kind of come to mind right away. One would be the Hoka Zenal. I feel like it's kind of set up pretty similarly. I don't think the Zenal comes in a Goretex, but I feel like the two shoes kind of are going to appeal to the same kind of trail runner. Another one that I think if you need something that's more trailish could be the Peregrine 12, which I originally started running in this time last year. This one has like some beefier lugs and is built for a little bit more trail than it is road, but it's something also that you can consider if you're looking at the Peg Trail 4 Goretex. This also does come in an ice version, which is their version of like weatherproofing the shoe, and it has a different outsole pattern that's going to be a little bit better suited for some snowy or icier conditions. So something else you can consider if you're looking at the Peg Trail 4 Goretex. And in terms of shoes that I think that this shoe pairs well with, if you're looking at this shoe and looking for something to kind of go with it, I think the Vomero 16, I don't have one with me anymore, but I think the Vomero 16 could be a really good companion to this shoe. So you take this shoe out for all your daily training, if you're getting on the trails or if you're getting in some wintry conditions, and then for your dry or road conditions, bust out the Vomero 16, and it'll be a really nice kind of like similarity in terms of feel, one for the trail, one for the road, that I think that are going to go together nicely. Now, in terms of the buying guide, this shoe retails for $160, but you can already find a bunch of these colors on sale. In fact, I got this pair for $100 right around Christmas time. Thomas from Believe in the Run posted something on his Instagram story that let me know that that was happening. So I hit that link from his Instagram story and picked this up for $100. Right now, this color and several others are available for 30% off at $112. So at that price, I think it's definitely worth picking up if you've got some wintry running coming up, even if you don't really consider yourself a trail runner. So those are my thoughts on the Peg Trail 4 Goretex. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday right here on YouTube. I'd love to talk to you guys in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe and dry out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?